Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of 6 Feet Apart, our VSC virtual programming. Today, Kristen Mills is going to be talking to Jeffrey Hargrave, a painter out of New York. Jeffrey was supposed to be here as a visiting artist this month and was really excited to be here, and we were really excited to have him. But unfortunately, this is the world we live in. So I'm glad at least to get to see you talk about your work a little bit. Jeffrey, I'm talking to you, not to everyone else. But everyone else, you get to watch it too. So let's see what they talk about.
Hey,
Hey, how are you doing? So good to see you and talk to you for the first. Yeah.
how are you doing? How are you handling life?
See, I was telling someone like a lot of my work has to do with the fact that I use my work as kind of like a I don't know like a vehicle conduit to deal with what happens in life,
Yeah.
And so I've made a lot of work during this period. Also, even like my childhood was very tough growing up in the South. So I use my work as a way of dealing. I don't know
Yeah.
if I would say therapy, but it's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
kind of
totally.
reflects on what's. And also I've done a lot of things like health wise, like I've actually like started eating better during this time. I've been working out like every day. I just feel like I never had the time to do that before.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I really am excited to talk to you, not just because you make great paintings and, deal with heavy issues, maybe in a looks like a lighthearted way, although it's
mhm.
not. I also use my work to deal with how I understood and understand the world. So,
And like so many things that I was thinking, like even like Guernica, Picasso's
mhm,
came out of like a lot of tragedy, with the city being bombed. So it's just I just look at it like maybe good can come out of it, I mean it's a lot of tragedy and a lot of horror. I guess I've always kind of used it as a way to kind of been interested in like performance, like a live perform, like a video piece
yeah.
kind of slash. So I don't know, like, cause I've been working on that kind of concept. I just, it's, art can be as a way of healing. And other people, I think also people, I relate to other people and people can relate to me through my art. So
Mhm.
because of that kind of identifying with what's going on, whether it's good or bad, I guess.
I just want to ask you some questions so I can get to know you and get to know your work a little better. You were scheduled to come here. So, do you want to talk about? I know from what I do know of your work, your
Mhm.
paintings, obviously you deal with very charged issues, race,
Yeah.
privilege. What is it about your childhood or growing up that kind of got you to start to make work about it?
Well, first off, I'm one out of six kids. I'm from Salisbury, North Carolina, and my father, he's since passed, but he was a carpenter, but he was very talented. Like would have been Frank Lloyd Wright, like.
What number are
Uh,
you in the birth order out of
oh,
six?
I'm number five.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah.
So we all lived in this house, and and that's so much history there too, because we lived on there was a huge plot of land that's still there, but the house that I grew up in, gosh, I mean, the house I was born in was on one part of the land next to these woods, and then we tore that down, and then 5, 6, 7 years old, we were in another kind of like shack.
Wow.
Literally, it was like Abraham Lincoln kind of, And then we had a third house, all in the same plot of land. And it turns out that my ancestors, the slaves were, I guess, the slaves and the masters kind of interwove,
Mm,
and then eventually we got the land, I guess,
okay.
so it was kind of like intermarrying. So that's how we were there. And so there's already that kind of history of racial stuff, like,
Right.
of that, just the land in general. And I grew up very poor. Like my father, he was a carpenter, but he never rarely really made that much money. So, but my town, and when the kids I went to school with there were a lot of very wealthy kids, Caucasian kids. I mean, like, multimillionaires. And
Mm,
the school system was so good that we all went to the same schools. So it was
mhm.
very like, and literally the house that I remember growing up in when I started kindergarten, there was an actual hole in the roof. Like we had to put it when it rained, we had to put a bucket. And like I didn't have any shoes. And my teacher, I mean, I had shoes, but they were like a mess. I mean, my father and his friend took me the first day of kindergarten on the back of a pickup truck. I mean, it was like, and
Wow.
just like it was crazy. And then I saw these other kids, and they were like clean, and it just felt like it was shocking, I mean, one teacher asked if, like, I mean, she was a saint, but asked if, like, she could send me home with a letter saying, "Can we buy him shoes?" I mean, it was like, and
Wow.
these other kids, the parents were very wealthy, so there was that class thing there already there. So it was kind of like I was born into this weird kind of thing where I had to try to figure out like So that was that. But my father was a talented carpenter. And then my eldest brother, Kevin, was a child prodigy. So there was this art thing happening. And in sixth grade, he was doing photorealistic drawing. So to be in a house and I would see it, as a kid, I was like, wow, and it kind of blew everybody away. Like, it was like, where did this come from? But it probably was because of my father. But no one had ever seen anything. It was like this weird thing. And so he was like the star, And then there was an artist in the neighborhood that my father would take him to this artist was a mentor to my brother. And he actually found out later on in his early life show with Romare Bearden and stuff in New York. And then I guess they saw it in me that, I was interested in art. So my father got hooked me up with him too. And he mentored me and my brother. Being in this place where we were so poor, but like in this town with like literal mansions, And I would go to their homes, these kids' homes, and they were very nice, and for the most part. But it was just shocking to be like, wow, like, holy. Yeah. And then I had to go to like this situation that was there were like lawn jockeys, that you would, but in my neighborhood, because of all that insanity that I was going through, my neighborhood was pretty much like a lower middle class African-American neighborhood. So we were kind of this weird kind of anomaly that was there. But it turns out that we were there because of that whole history of the land being passed on to. So we had the land, we owned the land, but the neighborhood kind of grew up around it.
When did you find that out, that that's how you got the land? Were you an adult?
Well, my father told me when I was a kid, but I thought he was lying. I just thought he was crazy, And then later when I went to Rhode Island School of Design, one of my neighbors did some kind of, they searched all the historical records and they found out that we did own the land. Not only that, we owned the land in our whole community. My ancestors did. They were very wealthy, but we lost it. I don't know how we lost all of it. She did some kind of commemoration how we once used to own the whole blah, blah, blah. And actually the neighborhood's called Jersey City, even though it's in Salisbury, North Carolina. So that's when I knew it was actually real, when I was off. So I thought my father was just this crazy. And we still have the land, both my parents are gone, but we still have the house is still there. So it was this stark, but like a lot of the wealthy people in the town really looked after, they helped me out a lot. I went to the North Carolina School of the Arts for my senior year of high school, and it's a 2-year program, and then you go off to, a lot of kids go to Pratt, you go to RISD, I did my senior year of high school there, first year of college, but I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. Like, I was like, I got in, but it was like, how am I going to, I can't work at McDonald's. My aunt, I never knew about this until this day, was just maybe a miracle, or she said, we're friends with this guy, his family owned a newspaper in my town. And she said, maybe he was Caucasian. And she said, maybe I'll give you a donation. He's a really nice guy. So I went to his office the next day, and the nicest guy in the world, he wrote me out a check for the entire first year.
Holy cow.
So it was like,
wow.
So if it wasn't for him, he was like an angel. I would have never gone up to that school. I would have never gone to RISD.
That's amazing.
He played a role in my life for a long time. He died in 2012, but he just was constantly there, like helping me out throughout all those years, after it.
But like a benefactor, I guess.
Yeah, like a bit, So he sent my first show, Trisha Collins Contemporary Art Gallery in Soho in 1998. He sent his niece to the opening. She just showed up. She said, Jimmy sent me, and she bought something. And it was just, he was such so even though there was the racial thing, there was like this kind of, that's where it probably plays into my work, that kind of that extreme poverty of like having a hole in a roof. Yeah. Literally, to like this guy in this kind of like glass castle. Writes me out a check, to go to. Wow. So for me, it was like a check kind of like out of hell, because that just, the whole thing of just the racial stuff, it was hard for me to kind of digest it,
Well, when you went to school then, did any of that shift? I mean, obviously you're growing up and you're aware of more things at that point in your life, but what were the racial tensions like in college?
Well, North Carolina school there, I don't know, maybe I was in denial. I mean, it was very kind of non-existent. When I was at RISD, Kara Walker was there actually. Oh. Okay. She was in her last year MFA, and it was my freshman year. So, and I saw her work in the RISD Museum, because they always do a show to MFA students, and I just fell in. It was the cutouts, just blew me away. I remember, and but I don't know. I just felt like maybe it was. I just didn't really feel like I experienced that much in college. I don't know. When I went to North Carolina School of the Arts, it was more kind of even kind of, but RISD was a start. Yeah. But the racial thing, I don't think, people were just so nice. I mean, people really seemed like they, looked out for, but yeah, the economical thing was hard. I mean, I did like, on-campus jobs and things, But in terms of the racial, I mean, I don't know. People just seem to be, I don't know if it's artists, but everybody seemed to just embrace each other. It was very, it was a great time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually experienced more here in New York. When I moved to New York, it was kind
Really?
of like, yeah, it was kind of strange. And
When did you first move to New York?
1997,
Okay.
so summer '97.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I just think it's like more kind of. I tell people, I say in the South, they'll let you know, what they think about you. They're not gonna hide. In New York, they don't really let you know. They'll say hi, but they're really thinking I want to kill you. In the South, they'll actually tell you. So in a way, I kind of like that
Right.
because people will let
Yeah.
you know what they think about. So.
Yeah.
And here it's kind of like they can smile at you, but they might be thinking I want to kill you.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the difference.
It's more insidious.
Yeah, it's kind of more covered up. So that was harder for me, but I
Mhm.
kind of like the self-openness. But
So growing up in the South, did you grow up with a lot of like religion? And was that something else you had to work against in your life, or was that not so much an issue?
oh yeah, it was very religious. I mean, it's Bible Belt, and yeah, I mean, I would get literally like walking down the street on Sunday if I didn't go to church. My neighbors, like if they saw me in the city, they would drive by and say, "Why aren't you in church?" from their car. And you heard nothing but church bells on Sunday. And but that was a struggle for me, of course, because I'm a gay man. So it was like that on top of it, like, oh gosh.
Right.
So it was like kind of like a cauldron. And so that was like I had to hide that. I mean, I don't know how, but I guess I did to a degree. All my friends thought I was, kind of like the whole thing of like, well, I'm the one of these people they said it's gonna be burning. It's,
Yeah.
so it's but also I had so many good things, I think, like in terms of like this man reaching out to help me. So I always felt like, I don't know, like I felt like I don't know if I really accept all this that people are trying to, I've always been very open with different religions and stuff. And it was like the black churches anyway were very hypocritical, I think, and I saw it then because if you didn't, we were poor. So I would get chastised by not looking, my clothes were too ratty or something, so it was kind of like, here you are. I started going, hanging out with my white friends and going to the churches where you can wear t-shirts and stuff like that, which I kind of actually loved more. And to this day, I still go to churches like,
Oh my
actually,
God.
I still have a spiritual thing, but yeah, because I felt like, I can come here and wear shorts and stuff. People are not going to look at me and kind of condemn me because I'm not wearing it's like, and it was a big difference, actually, and even looking back now, I'm like, I'm so glad and in some ways, I guess I was able to make those decisions, so.
Well, I asked that because my whole family's born again. My dad's pastor. So that was tricky growing up. I mean, that comes out in my art as well, because it's just like, it has to, because it's, I mean, I finally eventually came out to my family, but it still is finding its way out because of the way, I don't know, you're molded. And like you said, you're raised to believe that you're going to burn in hell. And it's like, yeah, but at some point you're like, actually, I might, but not for those reasons.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that comes out in your work, being gay, or is it more the racial stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it all comes out. I think all of it's a part of me, It's like all of these are kind of like combined experiences that I had that formed me. And I was very, I mean, I don't know, I think gay men and women, we have these tools that we have to kind of survival, maybe. I'll just speak for myself, that I had to learn very early on. Like I knew that like I cannot tell people these things about me as a kid, and
Right.
I have to kind of keep that hidden. And so I really had to kind of do some things that, looking back, I think it was very, maybe it's wise, but difficult things that I was in sixth grade, I think, and I think we had to do like wrestling. You have to train to see what everybody has to wrestle someone to figure out what class you're in. And these boys were so cute, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be. And I don't know how. I mean, I knew like it was coming. Like I was in the line, it was coming up for my turn. I said, this is gonna be like, it's gonna destroy my wrestling. Like I'm gonna have to leave school because obviously this is gonna be hard. And I was always the good kid. Out of the blue, I just said, I gotta get out of this line and do something to get into detention, which I'd never got in trouble. And all of a sudden, I just started screaming and yelling and throwing chairs and stuff, just so they kicked me. They were like, "What is wrong with him?" And they kicked me out of wrestling for the rest of it.
God, no.
But it was like a kind of protection thing. I had to do that to survive, like a survival.
Survival.
Like sixth grade, I had to do that. I mean, that's kind of intense. I've told my friends now as adults, but like I knew then that like I have to learn to survive in this world. I can't let, and it worked, like, and yes, I kind of have to give the thumbs up to that young kid who had to do that. And it's funny because then I ended up in like kind of like the kids who kind of got in trouble room which is kind of they're probably all gay.
Yeah.
Because some of the really smart kids were in that room too with me. I'm like,
Mm.
And we got to draw and paint. So it was kind of amazing in a way.
Oh, that's cool.
Me knowing that this is going to be like, this is not going to end up good.
Yeah.
And like, I got
Yeah.
to get out of here to save
Yeah.
myself. So it was like,
Have
I
you-
was saving myself with that. I was saving myself with the racial stuff. And another, I don't know what 6th grade was about, but another kid, this white kid he said, my family, I don't really like black people and my family doesn't like black people, but you're different. And I like you. He said, my family's in the Klan. I was like, oh. And so I had to end that kind of, but I
my
like
God.
you. And I was thinking, oh my God, my whole family's gonna be killed, So the next day I
Wow.
actually called him the F word, just to kind of, so he would, punch me in the face and didn't leave me alone. So I
Right.
did that. It was another survival thing.
Wow.
I said, you faggot, no. So I really had to learn quick, like to kind of like, and then I knew he would beat the crap out of me, which he did. But I knew once that was over, that was done.
Do you have any stories like that as an adult? I guess it's not as fun as an adult, but
Well, yeah, I mean, the racial stuff, like in New York. I mean, I was living in the basement of Trisha Collins' gallery, kind of like a la Basquiat, I guess, in 1998, and she also
Mhm.
represented me, gave me a show. And I was jogging. I was telling you, I was jogging in Soho, and early in the morning, and like it's like the cop NYPD pulled up to me as I was jogging. They said, "What are you running from?" And I was like, "I'm jogging." They just drove off. Yeah, but a lot of that I always put into my work. I always try to put all that stuff. I guess I try to find the humor, even if it's dark, into all that kind of stuff, because it kind of, maybe it keeps me going. It keeps me alive. I mean, but I try to, that's why there's kind of like a dark humor in the work, I think, because
Yeah.
it's kind of like, almost kind of response to life and how absurd things can be sometimes. And also on the other side too, because, a lot of these young Black kids, they say the N-word all the time on the trains and everywhere. And I was walking down the street a couple years ago, and a group of them passed me. They were young high school Black boys, and they said, "Oh, yo, that's a faggot nigga." And I just thought it was so crazy. I had to put it into a painting, and I made a paint. Like it wasn't like I was just a nigga. I was like a faggot nigga. But I just thought that they put me in a, I wasn't like just the N word. I had to be in a special category for the. So that kind of thing I find dark humor in, and I put into the,
Yeah. Did you respond to them or did you just keep that to yourself?
I kept it to myself, but I did make a painting based on it. So
Yeah.
with those words and stuff, how I incorporate things that happen, and
Yeah.
so, and even this, I have a little. I said, "Making America Great Again, one blood test at a time." It's like a new piece of it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
How it deals with what's going
Yeah.
on now. So
God, it's so horrible.
hopefully we learn from, we come out stronger. We kind of, there are good people, I feel, that want good things to happen. So
Yeah.
yeah.
There's one thing I watched your the little video. I don't want to say little. It was little on my screen. The little video on Ethan Cohen on the gallery,
yeah.
and you talk about your work. And at the very end, you say something about your work, about paying attention, but then you also say something about danger, and then it cuts. Like I think I know what you were getting at, but I just would like to hear you actually tell me.
Well, I mean, I think for me, it's like, I don't know. I think sometimes it's scary tapping into this stuff,
Yeah.
not only like what the other people might think about it, but also psychologically. I mean, it's hard kind of work for me to even, and I can't even always approach everything, until like I'm ready. I did for years. I'd always wanted to make dolls. I worked, when I first came to New York, I worked for Kiki Smith, actually,
Oh, cool.
as an assistant. And, I love her work. And she made dolls. So I tried to do it, but I just wasn't ready. But then I had a period where for like 2 years, 2 or 3 years, I made hundreds of dolls, like sewed them by hand. And they're scary. I mean, I think, but it's like I had to get it out. So there is something to like when I'm ready to like, actually look at certain things. And some things are scary and I have to put on the shelf, until I think that kind of truth that sometimes it's painful, like the truth hurts. I mean, even dealing with racial stereotypes, a lot of times, I get strong reactions by people. They're upset, people of color, white, Caucasian people as well. So, but I feel like sometimes, well, I feel like when there's that reaction, there's some truth to it that, it's hard to look at, it's painful. So, because if you're going to have a reaction like that, more than likely it's tapping into something that maybe you don't want to look at. And and it's hard for me to look at, you know, and I had to work through a lot of things to even do some of the work that I've done, you know.
Hmm.
So
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah, so even looking back at my childhood and looking at the stuff I went through and those experiences, and but I look at all these experiences as like, I don't know, I feel like they're gifts more than not, you know, to kind of tap into, you know. I love exploring it. What is this about? Like, how long has this been? Like, I love history. I love, you know,
Mhm.
art history. I love history, you know, and just learning about these things. So yeah, so there's danger. It's almost like Pandora's box, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, yikes, I really want to open this up and what's going to come out. And a lot of times I do paintings and it's like I have to lay down for like a week. I mean, it's just so mentally like,
Yeah.
and usually if I have that reaction, I know that the work is very good, you know, very strong, because if I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
it's like so heavy. So,
What's your favorite painting that you've made?
well, yeah,
Like,
I have a top three. I had this one of the mother and like a black caretaker and the white child that she was taking care of, that I showed. I had a solo show at the Bronx Museum 2015. I showed
yeah.
that there, and I have that one. And then I think the one based off the Manet Le
Yeah.
Déjeuner,
Yeah.
um,
That's a good piece.
that Ethan, I showed Ethan, and then
I mean, it's all,
Matisse Negro.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That, yeah, and also I did like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I would mention because I become really close friends with Judy Glantzman,
Oh, no way. That's
and
awesome.
we did a portrait series of each other the last year. Yeah, we
That's so
did. I
cool.
did like 8. She did like 8 or 9, 10 paintings and drawings of me and sculptures and a couple of sculptures, and I
Wow.
did the same of her, and we traded. Oh yeah, we
That's
want
so
to do a show of them. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, she was saying Hal Brown. Yeah, we've been doing that for like a year and a half. Yeah,
nice.
she speaks highly of you guys. She loves you guys.
Oh,
So.
that's sweet. I've never met her personally, but she has a lot of friends here,
Well,
you
I'm a
know?
big fan of her work, and like
Yeah.
after the
Like,
Bronx show, I bought a little something, a little painting at Betty Cunningham. Like I didn't even know, I never met Judy, and then one day I went in there, she was there. I've always been a fan of her work. So,
that's
and then we
awesome.
became friends and like started hanging
That's
out.
so cool. I know that obviously placing in Black figures in like history paintings is a huge way that you have worked and maybe
Mm.
still contemporarily work, Matisse and Manet and stuff like that. But who would you say you look at now as a contemporary artist? Doesn't have to be a painter. Actually, it doesn't even have to be an artist. I really like to figure out like other people's sources, what they're looking at,
Mm.
because I feel like that really, it kind of gives a little like a peek in the window, a little bit of the creative process.
Well, I love, I was, like I've been looking at performance pieces, and I guess, I've kind of been lucky because I've worked with a lot of artists that I love. I worked for Shireen Nishat. I don't know if you know her work, Iranian, for like 4 or 5 years. That inspired me to do my first little film that I showed at White Box, but in
Oh,
2011. That's why I was thinking along the lines of maybe some kind of little performance thing with
uh-huh.
costumes, but she's just amazing. I mean, I think I love her work so much. And then just reading a lot of, like I've been reading a lot of kind of like philosophy. So that's kind of interesting. Like I have been reading a book on Aristotle, and I love science. So I think if I could kind of try to combine, but yeah, a lot of performance stuff like Philip Glass, Einstein on the Beach, and I
Yeah.
just love that because I went North Carolina School of the Arts was not only visual arts, it's for performing arts, like
Okay.
dance,
Okay. I
and
didn't realize that. Mhm.
I performed when I was a kid too, and theater. I still have this performance thing in me. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's come up just a few times, even in the last like 20 minutes of it's like it's just like coming up, it's coming out. So what do you
Oh
think?
yeah, exactly.
Are you thinking like you and your body and doing something like live performance or
Yeah, like a
um
live performance. Just kind of. I did a video piece, and I was thinking having that as a backdrop, and also dealing with the fact of, from my own experiences, I was thinking of something dealing with that fact of the hole in the roof in my childhood and the
yeah,
bucket, along those lines. We're making it very personal and what
yeah.
my own experience. Yeah, so something
Hmm.
about that because there was an actual hole, but yeah, and maybe even the guy, the benefactor guy, trying to mend things into that kind of dealing with the body and movement, and so I feel like I have those things. The love of dance. Studying it, doing theater as a kid. So if I could meld everything together, it would be very interesting, I think. So,
Yeah.
and it's like you said, like it's usually like one thing leads to another. Maybe I'll put it on
Yeah.
the shelf, and also, opportunities come and things arise, and
Yeah.
if it's meant to be, it's meant to. So
Yeah. That's exciting. I'm excited about it. although you do have a background in performance and dance and theater, but I wonder if it'll come through from the eyes of a painter, which would be very different than the eyes of, grew up as a performance artist or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the good thing about working with another artist. Like when I worked for Shireen, I mean, we're good friends, and I got to see her. She's a photographer, but I got to see her start to kind of go into performance with the video work, and she actually collaborated when I worked for with Philip Glass. He came over and everything, so I was able to see how she took something like a video. She did a series called Logic of the Birds. I got to see it go from like on screen to like, it performed, I think, at the kitchen, I think. And then eventually it ended up on like, I think it ended up in Lincoln Center, and I went there too for that. But I got to see the progression, how she went from something that was kind of, it's almost like she built it like a piece of clay, over time. But she took things away, and I think that's the way you kind of go about it. I talked to my friend Isaac, Aiden. He shows with Ethan Cohen. He curated the show at the Bronx Museum for me. That you just start with little bits at a time. You don't even have to do a big performance. You just do, and you kind of slowly. Even when I made that video that I showed with him at White Box, I knew that it's not just one piece in itself. I can use this video and kind of add to it and put it in different things. But and I've actually been practicing with my voice, like sound and singing, to kind of try to figure out how to add it into everything. So. And that's all been happening I've always thought about wanting to do it, but this pandemic, I've been really trying to like, I've done sketches for the perform,
That's awesome.
So I just love creativity in general. I love theater, I love music, I love dance, I love, I just love the art, I'm kind of like addicted to the art. I mean, I collect art. It's like every aspect, But I wish I could. This is a drawing that Judy did of me. For the series.
Oh, that's awesome! Wow, it's
doing
beautiful.
the exchange we did. Yeah, so it's been
so cool. That's so cool.
Oh gosh, she's amazing.
Yeah,
she's one of my favorite painters too.
Yeah. Cool. Well, do you have anything that you want to say, or do you have any shows that aren't happening right now because of COVID, or what are you looking forward to, or?
Well, I show up at a gallery as well in New Jersey, Contemporary Art and Editions. I mean, he has a massive space. Is beautiful in Chatham, and he's going to do a series of prints of my work. He's done prints with Robert Indiana and Cottingham, and I just think that this is a very difficult, trying time for everybody, and we will get through this, and we'll come out stronger. And I mean, I think it's gonna a lot of amazing work is going to come out of this really horrible period. A lot of good is going to come out, in the
I
end,
agree.
So.
Yeah.
So that's about it, I guess.
Yeah. I really appreciate your time, and I'm so sorry that you're not here now or next month, but you'll be here. We'll get you here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Wow, that was great. I really wish you could have been here. But you'll come back, right? Or come for the first time. Let's see what Harlan's up to these days.
Welcome to another life lesson. We're going to put this fence in. I'm going to use a couple tools. One of them is this post hole digger. It's got hinges, and it's got a nice double shovel end and long arms, so we can reach in the hole and dig dirt out. And this is what I call a rock bar. It's a big heavy steel thing. I use it to get the rocks out of the hole as I'm going. Very complementary to the process. Find the edge of the rock and wiggle it out. So starting now, this is 2 times speed. It's quite slow post hole digging. And I found some small rocks, so I want to get around them and loosen them up so I can grab them out. And then I found a bigger one here off to the side, so I'll pry that out while I'm going so it's not in my way. Now I'm at 20 times speed. Really getting down there, almost done. It's a nice sound though. And so we get to the bottom of our hole, we look at it and we put in the fence post. I want to pull it back out and put a rock at the bottom so it doesn't continue to sink and things. It's just generally helpful. Gets it to the right height as well. Nice calm shoveling in. You want to make sure that when you put the dirt back into the hole, you want to definitely tamp it down as you go so you get it nice and compacted in there. I don't know if compacted is a word, but then you do it all over again, which is fun because you just did it once. And luckily this time it was actually quite a bit easier, not as many rocks in this one, so that was nice. Nice for me. Less exciting for you because then you don't get to see me struggle. Okay, so put some more rocks in this one because it was a little farther down than I had expected. Once I get everything lined up, it's time to put the split rails on. So to watch me do that very quickly. I dressed these first so they would fit in the holes easier, and that's it.
Well, it's been another amazing day, don't you think? Go outside safely, then go back home. Stay safe. Talk to you later. Bye!